June 18th has been declared a day of mourning in Kyiv. At this time, it is known that 15 people have died and more than 100 have been injured after last night's Russian missile and drone attack. Fires broke out in 8 districts at 27 locations. Rescuers extinguished them with the help of 2 helicopters. Over 100 tons of water have already been dropped. The building in the Solomiansky district suffered the most severe destruction. An entire section of a residential high-rise was destroyed there. According to the Air Force, an X-101 missile hit the building. It went from the upper floors all the way down to the basement. Rescue operations are still ongoing. TSN correspondent Mariana Buchan is working at the scene. She will tell us more.
It was a Russian ballistic missile that destroyed one entrance of a high-rise building in one of the districts on the right bank of Kyiv. The state emergency service managed to rescue 12 people from here. 2 more were pulled out from under the rubble, and right now they are searching for about 14 more people who might still be inside.
Today in Kyiv, we have 14 dead and 105 injured. It's very hard to say exactly how many people from this particular building are injured, because people are already going to medical facilities on their own. And of course, from this area, you can see how many damaged buildings we have, so people could be in neighboring buildings as well. In addition, our specialists are on duty here, monitoring the movement of the structures, because as you can see, the structures are unstable. And if, for example, they notice any movement, of course, the rescuers will be pulled back. And, for instance, climbers will be brought in who can safely remove those structures that pose a threat to the lives and health of the rescuers themselves.
Right now, there is a moment of silence, when everyone has gone quiet and is trying to listen for any sounds or movement under the rubble to understand if there are any survivors. Not only was the building, where the entrance was completely destroyed, affected by this nighttime strike, but also the neighboring buildings. Several of them here had their balconies and windows blown out.
How did you get through the night? Sorry for asking such a question.
Badly. In the bathroom, I'll tell you.
There is an apartment just opposite the arrivals area. We found out that there was a 7- or 8-year-old boy here who was injured by glass shrapnel, and now he's in the hospital.
We immediately started hiding in the bathroom, and literally in 3 seconds we heard that they were already above us. Then an explosion and another explosion, and then I saw glass and fire, smoke, everything completely.
I was standing at the edge, in the passageways, wanted to go up, and I hear a loud whistling and this rush of hot air. I ran down, bang. There was no light in the passage. Everything had collapsed. Then something else fell a second time somewhere. Well, it exploded.
If we take this location, how many people could be trapped under the rubble right now?
For now, the exact number.
About?
From 4 to 14 as of now, in total.
Mariana Buchan, Roman Sischenko, TSN 1+1.
A complete disregard for the United States against the backdrop of the G7 summit. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine explained why Russia carried out today's shelling of Kyiv and Odessa. According to Andriy Sybiha, the Kremlin did this deliberately during the G7 leaders' meeting, because this way Putin is sending signals of complete disregard for the United States and other partners who have called for an end to the killings. Russia cynically strikes the capital of Ukraine while pretending to seek diplomatic solutions. Meanwhile, representatives from 62 diplomatic missions, 52 of them at the ambassadorial level, arrived at the site of the strike on the 9-story building in Kyiv to express their condolences to the victims. Earlier, British Ambassador Martin Harris stated that such an indiscriminate attack by Moscow is a horrific reminder that it relentlessly continues its war, while Ukraine and its partners strive for a just and lasting peace. Russia does not want a ceasefire or negotiations. Russia seeks to force Ukraine into surrender by military means, wrote German Ambassador Martin Jaeger and the EU diplomat about today's shelling. Katerina Madernova shared on social media that last night's attack overshadowed her birthday celebration, and instead of posting photos with bouquets, she's sharing images of Kyiv in flames. The night turned into a real hell. Their target was civilians. They wanted to kill, is how Madernova described the shelling, adding that Russia must be driven out of Ukraine, and Ukraine must be guaranteed lasting peace. Those wounded in last night's attack are in urgent need of blood. Doctors at the hospital where injured Kyiv residents are being brought are asking for blood donations. Ambulances are continuing to bring in the wounded from the sites of the strikes. The rubble is still being cleared. According to the State Emergency Service, up to 14 people may still be trapped underneath. Those being brought to the hospitals have a variety of injuries. Most of the injuries are shrapnel wounds, cuts from blasts, chest and torso contusions, and traumatic brain injuries. People experienced acute stress after the nighttime shelling of Kyiv. On the right bank alone, about 30 patients sought medical help, and most of them have been hospitalized. 3 of the injured are in serious condition in the intensive care unit. All medical assistance is being provided free of charge. Hospitals are fully equipped with everything necessary to save lives.
Several patients have open traumatic brain injuries. These are multiple injuries to the skin and soft tissues of the limbs and torso. These are injuries and contusions to the chest. These are vascular injuries. Blood will be needed, so I would like to urge Kyiv residents to donate blood at the transfusion center, because in these terrible times we live in, blood supplies always need to be maintained.
We didn't see that the neighbor was missing. We only saw later on the news that it was gone, because everything was black, everything was glowing, everything was burning, cars parked nearby were exploding. And specifically, the fact that the neighboring entrance was gone, I only saw that on the news.
The appliances that were there, the TV, well, everything. The table, even the table seemed to have slipped over, and, well, we immediately, ran downstairs over the broken glass, to where our shelter is. A guy who has medical training helped us there, and he, helped us out, not just medically, but also psychologically. By the way, I'm really grateful for that.
Now, moving on to the shelling in other regions. The Russians launched 4 missile strikes on Zaporizhia. There is destruction and fires at industrial sites. In total, 15 apartment buildings were destroyed, and a garage cooperative was also hit. Overall, the occupiers carried out more than 500 strikes across the region in just one day. In the morning, Russian forces attacked the Dnipro district of Kherson with a drone. More than a dozen people suffered blast injuries and shrapnel wounds. And the day before, a teenager was injured as a result of artillery shelling. 2 people were also injured in Bilazurka. The Russians shelled the village with artillery, and an enemy drone dropped explosives on a civilian car. Another person was injured in Antonivka. In total, nearly 30 villages and towns in the Kherson region came under enemy fire. Once again, the occupiers attacked Kupiansk in the Kharkiv region. An airstrike was carried out directly on a residential neighborhood. They hit an apartment building, and fires broke out in the homes. As a result of the attack, a man and a woman were injured. The whereabouts of 3 civilians still cannot be determined. 1 person was killed and 1 wounded in the Donetsk region. A resident of Pokrovsk did not survive the enemy shelling. A Russian shell hit his house. The Microdorivka was also under attack by the occupiers. There, a 63-year-old man was wounded and died as a result of the shelling of Nikopol in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The occupiers struck a car and a private household with an FPV drone. A fire broke out. 2 more local residents were injured.